Welcome to this tutorial about working with stateful computations in JAX. Today, we'll explore an important concept, how to handle state in JAX programs. This is especially relevant for machine learning applications. First, let's understand what makes JAX special. JAX has several important transformations like JIT, just-in-time compilation, vmap, automatic vectorization, and grade, gradient computation. These transformations require something called pure functions. A pure function is special because it produces output that depends only on its inputs. Pure functions cannot have side effects, which means they cannot change things outside of their own scope, like updating global variables. This requirement creates an interesting challenge in machine learning because state appears everywhere in machine learning programs. For example, we need to keep track of model parameters that change during training, optimizer states that help guide the learning process, and stateful layers like batch norm. To explore this concept, we'll start by setting up our development environment. We need a Google Colab notebook running on a TPU v5 runtime. The first step is to install JAX with its TPU-specific components. Let's begin with the simple example that demonstrates the challenge of state in JAX. Imagine we want to create a basic counter program, like you might write in traditional Python. In a regular Python program, you might create a counter class that keeps track of a number internally. This counter would have an attribute called n that stores the current count, and this value would change each time you use the counter. When we try to use JAX's just-in-time compiler, or JIT, with this traditional counter approach, we run into a problem. The code doesn't work as expected. This happens because our counter is trying to modify its internal state as a side effect of being called. The just-in-time compiler can only execute these side effects once when it first analyzes the function. After that, when the function runs again, the side effects won't happen anymore. To solve this problem, we need to think differently about how we handle state. Instead of letting our counter class manage its own internal state, we can make the state explicit by passing it as an input to our methods and returning it as part of the output. This is called explicit state management. Let's see how this works in practice. We create a new version of our counter, which we'll call counter v2. In this new version, whenever we want to count, we must provide the current state to the count method. The method then returns the updated state. This approach works well because we're now controlling the state directly, and the counter class no longer has hidden side effects. With this change, we can now successfully use the just-in-time compiler with our counter. The compiler works because it can see all the information it needs in the function's inputs and outputs without any hidden changes happening inside the function. This technique of converting stateful methods into stateless ones can be applied to any similar situation. The key steps are: first, take the state as an input parameter, then return the updated state as part of the output. This approach is very common in functional programming, a style of programming that emphasizes pure functions. In fact, we can simplify our code even further. Since our counter class is no longer managing any internal state, we could remove the class entirely and just use pure functions instead. The class has become simply a container for the count and reset functions. While we have focused on the just-in-time compiler in this example, the same approach to handling state is important when using other JAX transformations like vmap for vectorization or grade for calculating gradients. Anytime you need to use these JAX features, remember to make your state explicit. If you'd like to support the channel, consider starting a free trial of our new design tool, which is linked in the description, and let us know what you think. We'll include a link to the documentation in the description as well. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section and we'll do our best to respond. Thank you very much for watching till the end, and please enjoy responsibly.